Hi guys, welcome back to the Fiber and Fables podcast. My name is Jess. This is Summer. You can call me Fiber or Fables. I go by both. So in today's video, we are going to be taking a deeper look into the eclectic grandpa trend. So in today's video, we are going to be taking a deeper look into the eclectic grandpa trend. And this is an offshoot of the nostalgia trend. And also I kind of want to make a disclaimer or give a little bit of context here is that fashion trends are, yes, they are superficial. And, anyone who says, oh, trends, they change so often, and micro trends, and how do you keep up, and all of that. And yes, facts. These are superficial things. You do not need to follow any trends. You do not need to participate in any way if you don't want to. But my interest in fashion has not so much been the artistry of it, but noticing patterns of it. So, and also seeing that fashion is I would say a reflection or a reaction to what is going on around us. So, I like to use this example, for instance. So back in World War II, the United States had a fabric ration. So there wasn't much fabric to go around. So it became, I would say, unpatriotic for men to wear a three-piece suit, and because it would take more fabric. And of course, if you already had it, then you could wear it. But it also became sort of a symbol of patriotism. It was a way for people who, in my opinion, didn't have much control over what was going on around them to sort of take that back and to kind of have some control over it. And I like to use that example because then afterwards, three-piece suits just sort of fell out of fashion, and they haven't really come too much back since. I work in the corporate world, and walking around, I think in general, suits have just kind of are more and more rare. There are men that wear them every day to work, but I would say that in general, our culture has become more casual, like sort of like that business casual look. I know my husband, to work, he just wears like khakis and a polo or a button down, which is not a suit at all. So yeah, like we do see how our current climate can reflect our fashion. And so what my thesis, or I guess what I'm trying to say here, is that fashion, yes, is sort of a superficial thing. It comes from something, and it also can reflect our current social climate as well. And we're going to get into it and use eclectic grandpa as a part of that. So eclectic grandpa, what is it? It is a worn-in look. I would say there's tons of knits there, which is another reason why I was so interested in it. It is one of the trends that definitely pushed crochet and knitting into popularity, or sort of in vogue again. So we see sweater vests, we see cardigans, we see like even tweed blazers, loafers, clothing that I would say is maybe fitted to almost oversized. So we see like even chunky knit cardigans, and it is supposed to be this worn-in look, as in you look like you've had these pieces for a very long time and you've taken care of them. So when you see like a tweed blazer that has like the patches on the elbows, that's because presumably you're using it a lot, so there's going to be a lot of wear and tear on that part. And then tailors would patch that up with a different piece of fabric, sometimes with like suede, just because that is more durable than the fabric that it was made out of, so probably tweed or wool. So when we are looking at trends, so what does this tell us when we're looking at this trend? Well, I think that people are looking to feel more comforted. They're looking to feel safe. And my grandpa did not dress like this. Grandpa Bob wore mostly tracksuits and polos. He lived in Florida, so he did not participate in this trend. But what it's supposed to do is look at more of these classic pieces, and Also, I will say too that when I looked at this trend, when I originally saw it a few years ago, it was sort of like becoming like sort of taking when I saw this trend kind of taking off, it it kind of I kind of always laugh at when trends become more vastly adapted, because I think we're doing trends wrong, and I'm gonna get a little bit more into it later in this video. But in general, I eclectic grandpa is a trend based off someone who has spent decades cultivating their style, their own personal style. And I feel in general, when it comes to fashion, I feel like the reason why it gets this very superficial rap is because we're sort of doing trends wrong. We're not adapting it to who we are, and we are not taking time to cultivate our own personal style. And maybe I'll come out with a video later on about that. But I was also really excited that this trend was taking on, because I'm a knitter, I am a crocheter, and it was really cool to see more and more people knitting and crocheting and being interested in those pieces, and also looking for pieces that had more longevity, and for it to be okay for you to wear the same cardigan that you have been wearing for 10 years, and that it's okay for you to wear the same cardigan that you've had for over 10 plus years, for you to have this worn look, your worn leather loafers that you've probably been wearing for years. That's kind of now in trend. But it's funny to me because those items or those pieces you probably didn't have for that amount of time. So I think that when we see nostalgia kind of coming in, there's a lot of reasons for it as well. So nostalgia is kind of is a trend where is a well, I'm using it as a fashion term or a fashion trend, and it's basically something that makes you remember a much more safer and calm place. So it can be anything from your where you grew up, your childhood home. It could be something like a broken in hoodie. I love that example. I have a few pieces that when I'm not feeling well or when I'm feeling really stressed out, there's just nothing like putting on a hoodie that you have worn for years and forever, and it's really broken in and it's been washed a million times, and you don't care if there's a hole in it, you don't care if it's faded. It means just so much to you. So looking at this trend, I think that this trend is a direct reflection and a reaction to our current economy. And look, this video is not meant to be political at all. I don't like getting into politics, but I don't think that it is, I don't think that it's, I don't think that people can pretty much disagree that our current economy is suffering, that people are hard up for money due to a lot of different factors. So when something like nostalgia, which is telling you, hey, use what you already have, it's okay, then I think that is a reflection of that. And we even saw this during Christmas, which I thought was funny. I don't remember that Christmas ever had like an actual like an official trend. I guess it's more strong because of social media now. And that was the Ralph Lauren Christmas, and that was supposed to have this very vintage home look. And truth be told, when trends come out, you do not have to buy anything. If you want to participate in these trends, there are ways to style what you already have, or add maybe just only a few pieces in order to achieve that look. So when we think about nostalgia, I mean, I kind of use myself as an example. I bought a Thanksgiving tablecloth years ago at a yard sale, and I have been using that for the past 5 years. Now, 5 years is not like in a span like all that long, but I don't need another tablecloth. So if Thanksgiving is supposed to be a different trend, my tablecloth is like a burnt orange. So if suddenly, I don't know, the trend is Thanksgiving is supposed to be hot pink, I'm not gonna buy a hot pink tablecloth for that. There's just no need for it. So I also think that this is also another reaction to the pandemic. I had saw a study where people were saying that they actually don't want to consume more because when they were home, they saw how many things they already had. And that's really interesting. And I think that we all sort of felt that. I definitely felt that. I definitely felt like, oh my God, I have so much stuff. I have so much clothes. And yet all of us always feel like we have nothing to wear. And now that we're suffering money wise, now we're going to be looking more back into our closet. So I always tell people, shop your closet before you actually shop, before you actually spend money. And which is also another reason why I knit, is because I love to create things for myself, and I love to make something and to really spend the time to creating something that is just for me, that is customized just for me. And I think that this trend definitely reflects that, and definitely showcases that. So when it comes to knits, we see a lot more like thinner yarn. I saw a lot more of like fine yarn being used for things like sweater vests, cardigans, boxy sweaters with, I would say, like more vintage prints, more Fair Isle. I've definitely been seeing more of, and I see a lot of more knitted hats too, which kind of were always in, but having that more homemade vintage look. And so we're seeing more tweed yarn, we're seeing more heathered yarn, and that gives something a little bit more depth, but it's also timeless. And when you think about this trend, the way to kind of cultivate it wouldn't be for another 5 or 10 years, because presumably you've bought that hat now, or you've made that hat now, and then it just gets better and better and looks better and better and better. And Eclectic Grandpa is also a trend where somebody has been wearing these things forever and has figured out what suits them, what fits them, what is functional for them. And like this, I really love the Eclectic Grandpa trend, because so, just to describe myself, I call myself kind of like a corporate goth mom. I dress for function and not so much for fashion, even though I really love fashion. I would also say that Eclectic Grandpa also became in vogue is because I think we are sort of pushing back against binary gender assigned clothing. Because these colors can pretty much be worn by anybody. More earth tones. We have boxier, boxier fits, more oversized fits. So people can feel more comfortable wearing that, and you don't have to kind of adhere to like high femme or high masculine looks. It's a more relaxed look. And I think that is also a direct reaction to it. Of course, when I use terms like masculine and feminine, it's more in the more traditional way, but I feel like now that there is more awareness and people feel more comfortable being themselves, now they're adapting that type of style. And listen, and listen, fashion is in my opinion is an art. It is something that you can use to express yourself. So however you want to do that is up to you, and that's what I love about fashion. I also think that Eclectic Grandpa is also um, in style now because of more nostalgia. So nostalgia in general has been kind of a thing for, I would say, like maybe the last 10 years even. And we saw that when, Disney kind of made two of everything. Like, why did we need two Beauty and the Beast? Why did we need two Little Mermaids? Why did we need live action versions of everything? But I think that people are wanting, like I said, people are wanting to relive good times and good memories that they had. And when did you feel like the most safe? Is probably when you were a child, when you were watching Disney films, and when you kind of didn't have like you had less awareness of all the woes in the world around you. So that's why we have, like, they rebooted so many shows, and not all of them were good. and Stranger Things. Stranger Things was such a huge hit. It still is, even though the show is ending. And also Millie Bobby Brown, she knits, fun fact. So let me know if you want a video about celebrities that knit. I would love to do that. So, and also back to the knits, I will definitely be including some examples of Eclectic Grandpa. But again, trends are to be adapted in any way that you see. You have to dress in a way that speaks to you, if only to you. So don't ever feel pressure to wear these sort of things. I know that with social media, we tend to look at things as how we're supposed to look, even though it's might supposed to be inspirational and not something that you're supposed to follow to a T. And again, like I always say, I think that we're doing trends wrong. And it was really funny in school, when I was in fashion school. I didn't go to, I'm not a designer, but I did go to fashion school. I'm a product developer in the accessories business. I don't know if I've mentioned that before in videos. So a part of my job is to be on the pulse of a lot of these trends and to figure out how to interpret it into the products that I'm developing. And so when I look at this trend, I think of just classic colors. So when I was in school, a professor actually explained the boho look. That was back when boho was becoming really, really popular. And he had said that, boho was a term that described kind of nomadic look, where somebody who was a big traveler, someone who was like a world traveler, would come back, and their house would be filled with little trinkets from all over the world. And that is supposed to be boho. It's supposed to be sort of mismatched trinkets all together. But then we're buying these sort of cheap knockoffs from Target and filling our homes with them. And that always kind of rung in my head, is that we're doing trends wrong. We're interpreting them wrong. Because everything's with boho, everything is supposed to have a story. So like, even like if you see in my background, that windmill, me and my husband went to Holland and we picked that up. So, and our tree, we have, I try to get ornaments every time we travel. So then that year, our tree, when we're decorating our tree, we can go, oh yeah, remember when we went here, we went there, blah blah blah. And it's just a nice feeling. And I thought it was really interesting how the trend this year for Christmas was dubbed as Ralph Lauren nostalgia or Ralph Lauren vintage, because you're picking a high end, or what's presumably a high end designer for how I feel Christmas should be. And I've always felt like Christmas should be a little ugly. Christmas should be a little tacky, because it's supposed to be a cultivation of things that you have collected throughout the year, and things that you've had in your family. Last year, my mother passed away, and when I was going through her things, I didn't know that she held on to one of my grandmother's ceramics. My grandmother was really into ceramics when she was young, so she made this beautiful ceramic Christmas tree in the 40s, and I was so emotional when I saw it, just because I remember seeing that every year growing up, and it brought me so much joy. And I was just so happy to have it on display this year for our Christmas. And so this is what nostalgia is supposed to give you. It's supposed to give you that feeling every time you put up that item or wear that garment, and think all of the memories that I have wearing this. And that's another reason why I knit, because when I put on a garment that I've knitted, even if it's just a hat that took me like less than a week to make, I made it. And I can think about, oh gosh, I really didn't understand how to do these decreases, but I figured it out. And that makes me feel good about it. So what do you guys think about Eclectic Grandpa and the whole nostalgic trends? Do you agree with me that we're doing trends wrong? Let me know your thoughts down below. Please comment, please like, please subscribe if you are new, and follow me on all my socials. Let's be friends. Bye guys.